Here, the time is 8:42. We're now back on the record.
Mr. Matuk, does your store sell liquor to restaurants directly?
Objection asked and answered.
Not answering any questions pertaining to my business.
Do you personally store anything in your aunt's garage?
Not answering any questions pertaining to my
I didn't
business.
ask you about your business. I said, do you store anything in your aunt's garage?
For the record, just specify which aunt. I don't know how many.
Aunt Rose. We've only been talking about Aunt Rose.
No, I know, but I don't.
Fair enough. Do you store anything in Aunt Rose's garage?
Like what, my clothes or my shoes or,
Do you store anything in your Aunt Rose's garage?
do I?
Yes, you.
No.
Okay. Do you store anything on behalf of your business in your aunt's garage?
Asked and answered.
Anything pertaining to my business, you're not getting the answers.
Is there some reason that a van would go from your store to your aunt's garage and either load or unload something out of your aunt's garage?
Objection for.
Don't know. I'm not the only manager there.
Manager of what? Your store?
Yeah.
So you're saying that your store could be engaged in conduct that you would not be aware of?
Anything's possible.
Sure, anything's possible too. Is it likely that your store would be engaged in activity that you personally are not aware of?
I like to think that I'm on top of things.
So if your store was, if a van was going from your store to your Aunt Rose's house and either loading or unloading items, you would certainly be aware of it, right?
No.
Why wouldn't you be aware of it?
'Cause I'm not, I'm up on the second floor. Might get orders from a manager, from my sister. My sister's very close. She's the one who takes care of my aunt, so I don't know what goes in and out of her garage.
So there is stuff that goes in. There is stuff from the store in her garage.
I don't know that it does, but if it did, I would know about it.
So you're saying that your store could be storing stuff in your aunt's garage and you
If
wouldn't
it's
know about it?
pertaining to my business, I'm not answering your question.
You just said,
Rosemary could be storing her clothes there. I don't know. It could be lawn equipment. I don't know.
so there would be a reason for a van to go from your store to your aunt's house to store your...
If they got a lawnmower or something they're storing there, yeah, they could put it in the van, take it to her house. Or it could be, it could be your daughter's furniture. I don't know.
Uh-huh. Have you ever been in your aunt's garage?
No.
You're aware in this case that, you're aware that Stephen Matuk was deposed in this case, correct?
Yes, I believe.
And you're aware that during that deposition there was allegations that Tim Matuk molested Stephen Matuk.
It's total bullshit. He would never do that.
So you are aware that there was that allegation?
He's lying.
You are aware that there was that allegation?
Mm-hmm.
That's a yes?
Yes.
Okay, and why do you say he's lying?
Tim would never do something like that.
Why would Stephen lie?
Objection Foundation.
He's kind of moved into the Joann Matouk Romain group, and anything they can do to make us look bad or hurt us personally or hurt our business, they're going to do it whether it's truthful or not truthful.
Why do you think he would do that?
I have no idea. Just Steve was a really good guy, and all of a sudden he went haywire. I don't know why he would socialize with rotten people like this.
So
It's beyond me, because he was always a really good guy.
And why do you say it's not possible that Tim Matuk actually engaged in this conduct?
Because he's not that kind of person.
How would you know?
Well, he would never do that. I know my cousin a long time. He's not gonna do anything like that to anybody.
How often do you see him?
Sorry, who's him?
See Tim.
So
On average,
Could be
on a 3-month span. How many times do you think you physically see him? We know you talk all the time.
5 or 6 times.
5 or 6 times a 3-month span. Has it pretty much been that way over the last?
No,
how
I
many
might
years?
run into him over at my aunt's house. Time we go over there and have coffee. That's about it.
But generally that,
That's about the only place I see him.
You gotta let me finish, please. You say you see him about 5 or 6 times in a 3-month span. Has it pretty much been like that for the general past?
No, not that often. My aunt has become elderly, it's more of a meeting place, so that way we can see her on a Sunday or, or any other day. It might be a Wednesday, but we get to spend a little time with her, talk with her, so forth, and at the same time I get to see him.
So the frequency of you seeing him has increased over time?
No, nothing normal.
And that's what I'm trying to ask.
I think so, probably a little in the last couple of years, because we go to visit my aunt, and she's gotten up there in her years.
So before your aunt's situation, approximately how many times would you see him in a 3-month span?
Nah, not very. Before that, I might have seen him for 6 months.
So a couple times a year you'd see him?
Yeah, probably 5, 6 times a year, 7 times, 8 times. If he came in to buy something,
Understood.
I'd see him there. Or I might run into him, I could run into him out in a restaurant or something.
Sure. I'm not talking about those things. Was it pretty much that way for the 10 years before that?
Yeah, it's about the same pattern.
20 years before that?
Same, see him at might come over to my house for Christmas, just run into him. Usually I run into everybody I see at my place of business.
How old are you today?
55.
And how old is Tim?
I think 60.
When you were kids, did you guys hang out or interact very much?
No.
So when would you say you first started interacting with Tim? On a semi-regular basis? And not including that you might run into him at Christmas
Probably
time.
when, everybody's over 21, they're coming to the store buying alcohol, so forth.
So for, let's say, the last, and you were working in the store when you were a kid?
Yes.
Were you always working full-time in the store since you've been an adult?
Yes.
And how old is Stephen?
50 or 51, I'm guessing.
When did you first start having semi-regular interactions with Stephen, if at all?
Same thing, come in the store, buy things.
So you really didn't have much of a relationship with them when they were younger, much younger, right?
See them at holiday events, yeah.
But other than that, you didn't see them outside of the context of a holiday event by happenstance, right?
I'd go fishing with Steve sometimes.
From what age?
Probably the last 15 years. He'd take me fishing on his boat, whatever.
Until Steve turned 21, did you have much interaction with him other than happenstance at a holiday gathering?
No.
Did you ever hang out with him?
No, younger than me, no.
Okay. With respect to Tim, did you have, before he was 21, did you have much of an interaction with him?
Nope, just holiday events.
You didn't hang out with him?
No, he was quite a bit older than me.
So how is it that you know that when Stephen was younger, that Tim could not have engaged in the contact which Stephen alleged, if you didn't know them at the time?
Judge of character.
Objection,
He would
yes,
never
please.
do something like that.
Got along with Joann at earlier times in your life, correct?
Yes.
You were close, right?
Close, depending on the definition.
You know, when you were in your teens, 20s, 30s, were you closer with him?
Yeah.
Were you ever close with John?
Yeah, probably till he was about 15.
50, you said?
15. That's when he started acting up.
Acting up.
You know.
Would you say his character changed?
Oh yeah, he's been mentally ill for years.
So in other words, people's character could change, right?
Possible.
And if you knew John before he was 15, he would be a different person than he was after he was 15, right?
Objection, foundation.
I don't know where you're going with this, but this is just another Joann Matouk accusation for Tim Matuk that he didn't do.
Could you answer my question, please? If knowing John before he was 15, before this change, and knowing him afterwards, you would see two different kind of people, right? Correct?
Same
Anything's
objection.
possible.
It's not just possible, it's true, isn't it?
No, it's not true.
So you're saying that John, after he was 15, did not have a different character and nature than before he was 15?
We're here to help my sister. What does this have to do with this case? This has nothing to do with what we're trying to help her today.
Okay, can you answer my question, please?
No, you're wasting everybody's time here.
Could you answer my question, please?
What is your question?
My question was, you would agree that John's character changed from before he was 15 until after he was 15,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. He was a normal
Okay.
kid. at that
So
point.
how do you know that Tim's character didn't change at some point in time, since you didn't really know him when you were younger?
Objection to form.
You know, you hear things out on the streets about people, and I heard a lot about my brother. I never heard anything about my cousin.
That's not my
I
question.
heard nothing but good things.
How do
So,
you know that Tim's character didn't change at some point in his life, because just like John's character changed?
You don't know,
Okay.
but
So it's fair
Again.
to say that you have no idea, since you really didn't know him very well when you were younger, you have no idea what his character was like at that time, right?
Objection as to form and foundation. And it mischaracterizes his testimony.
You can answer. You can answer.
what kind of answer are you looking for?
I wanted, you don't really know what his character was like when he was much younger, do you?
Yeah, I do know what his character was.
How do you know that?
Parents talk among each other. If there was issues between the kids, they would discuss it. My father was close with his brother. If he was any of these things that you're accusing him happened, they would have been discussed, and it didn't happen.
So
these are just questions Joann Matouk is giving you to make him look bad, which never happened.
So you're saying that if it turns out that it cannot be, strike that, you're saying that Tim could not have been molesting Stephen when they were younger because their parents never talked about it. Is that what you're saying?
Objection, form and foundation.
Is that what you're
I
saying?
have no answer for you. I don't know where you're going with this.
You
but
just said to me that if it had been true, their parents would have been talking about it, right?
yeah, probably, yeah.
Okay, so you're saying
Yes.
So you're saying that it could not have been taking place without
Anything can happen.
Mr. Matouk, please. Are you saying that it could not have been taking place because their parents weren't talking about it?
Objection, form and foundation.
That's not even a
Mischaracterizes his
question.
prior
It's
testimony.
ridiculous.
Well, let's just work through it. You just said, I want to be sure, this is very important testimony. You said that it could not have been taking place because the parents were not talking about it. You did testify to that, right?
I would assume if anything like that happened, it would have been discussed.
But that would only be if the parents knew about it, right?
Could I get a continuing objection as
Sure,
to this?
absolutely.
Mischaracterizes his prior testimony.
That's fine. So are you saying that if the alleged conduct took place, that their parents would have known about it?
Yeah.
You're saying it's not possible?
Yeah, because I think a child would have went back and told his parents
Aha, and you're a child
if
psychologist.
it happened.
You're a child psychologist
Not at
now?
all. Just hear.
Wait a minute. That is a completely improper question. You've been asking him his lay opinion about whether Michelle is depressed and all these other factors and how he thinks, why he disagrees with a statement you've made.
I know.
So now we know he's not a child psychologist, so that is meant to do nothing more than harass and badger
No,
the
it's
witness.
not.
That's what-
He's gonna be
No,
here-
it's not.
That's what he was
We know
instructed
he's-
to do.
We know he's got.
No,
he's not
but
a
the
child
point, listen,
psychologist.
Chris, the
No.
point is that I wanted to confirm that that is a lay statement, that children never,
Come on. That's-
fail.
What does that have to do with
Okay, that's
anything
fine.
with this? I
Have
mean,
you
it's
ever heard the
ridiculous.
concept that children repress memories of early childhood molestation?
I'm going to object to
Objection.
form and foundation.
Have you ever heard of that happening?
I have no idea what you're talking about. All I know is if you're trying to make him out to be a child molester, he's not.
I just asked, could you please answer my question? Have you ever heard in your life of circumstances where children were molested earlier in life and do not recall it until later in life?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Okay, so the fact that a
The
child,
Jerry Sandusky case was exactly, he molested people that came out later.
okay, so the fact that a child did not discuss his molestation with his parents doesn't tell you anything as to whether it actually occurred or not, right?
Object to form and foundation. There has been no fact that a child did anything one way or the other.
Well, Mr.
Joann.
Matouk, Mr.
This is
Matouk,
a,
wait,
this is a goddamn
hold on.
circus.
No,
Mr. Matouk testified.
It's a form and foundation question.
That's
Your
fine.
beginning, your
fine.
predicate of your sentence was
You can answer.
the fact that. There has been no fact
Okay,
elicited
fair
that
enough.
anything happened.
Fair enough.
All
If,
right, before we go any further, let me just bring up a statement on the record. Before you were involved in this matter, Mr. Altman, with respect to this whole line of questioning, with respect to Steve, we made a separate record on it. We agreed that it would be sealed and not discussed. So in so much as you're going down this pathway, will you agree likewise to seal this portion of this deposition?
absolutely, no problem.
Thank you.
No problem at all, James, you got that? So any discussions along these lines, just separate record, do whatever, no problem at all.
Thank you.
You testified, I just want to clarify this, you testified earlier that the conduct could not have happened because their parents would have known about it, right?
Objection.
Was that your testimony earlier?
Objection, foundation mischaracterizes his prior testimony.
How does it mischaracterize his part?
Because he also said he knows it didn't happen because he knows Tim, he knows Tim's character, he knows Tim wouldn't have done something like
asking-
that.
I know his
So it's
parents, I
based
knew his
solely
parents,
on the
I know it
issue of
wouldn't
his
happen.
parents.
I'm asking specific, no, he's specific, that's fine, fair enough. I just want to be very clear about one particular issue. You said that if this conduct took place, their parents would have known about it, right?
Yes.
Okay. You also acknowledge that in some cases you have heard, you particularly brought up the Sandusky situation, examples of where children were molested who did not recall the molestation until years later, correct?
It's possible.
That would also imply that their parents didn't know about it because the memory was repressed, right?
Foundation.
That's correct.
Objection.
Okay, so that their parents didn't know about it or discussed it itself does not mean that the molestation could not have taken place, right?
If that's the way you want to see it, so be it.
No, I'm asking how you see it.
Let me make it very clear. If he did not do any of these acts, anything you're accusing him of, this is one big scam that you guys are pulling off here.
Mr. Matouk, would you answer my question, please? Could you read back what my question was, James?
This is ridiculous. Everybody in the whole city knows Joann Matouk's orchestrated this whole thing.
You also acknowledge that in some cases you have heard, you particularly brought up the Sandusky situation, examples of where children were molested who did not recall the molestation until years later, correct? It's the next question. That would also imply that their parents didn't know about it because the memory was repressed, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so that their parents didn't know about it or discussed it itself does not mean that the molestation could not have taken place, right?
If that's the way you want to see it.
That's the question. Could you read back that question?
You want it back again, sorry?
Yeah, just read it back again, because that's the exact, I want to now ask that question again. Sorry. That their parents didn't know about it or discussed it itself does not mean that the molestation could not have taken place, right? Please answer that question.
That could be for anybody. I mean, the question you're asking, did something happen and they didn't go to their parents? That's possible. but it didn't happen with him.
And you know that because Tim's character did not change from the time this may have taken place, right?
Objection to foundation.
Just telling you what as I know him as a person.
But you didn't really know him.
I don't know that you weren't a child molester when you were a child.
You're not talking about me today. You said earlier you did not know him very well while you were much younger, correct?
It's kind of hard when you're, what do you think, we get in our bikes and like ride over somebody's house when they're 5 or 6 miles away?
Did you have friends where you spent a lot of time with?
Absolutely.
And you didn't spend that kind of time with Tim Matuk?
No.
So is it
when
fair
you're
to
8, you don't hang around with somebody that's 15.
Fine, so is it fair to say that you really don't know much about Tim Matuk's character at the time he was much younger? Because you didn't interact with him that way, right?
I didn't interact.
So you
Parents did.
So you don't know much about his character then, do you?
Objection form.
Foundation.
I'm telling you, I think he has great character, so I'll leave it at that.
I'm asking
Nothing
you, at when he was younger, you don't really know what his
I
character
wasn't
was.
hanging out with, if that's the question you're asking?
Form.
Was I living under his roof? No.
It's not a question of whether you were living under his roof. You don't know about
I didn't
his
have any
character.
interaction with him.
Thank you.
I mean, you know, I'm 8, he's how old? 14, 15, I mean.
Okay. Now, you consistently have blamed Joann Matouk for all of this, correct?
Correct.
Do you think Joann Matouk had something to do with Joann's disappearance?
Possibly.
Well, it's also
Not John Matouk, but somebody he screwed out of money.
somebody. And what's your basis for saying that?
Because it's possible when you do somebody wrong, they come back and, you know, and take care of the situation. I don't, you know,
I see.
only the first time it's happened.
Have you ever been accused of, strike that, you were certainly accused of cheating the estate out of money, right?
John Matouk's accused me of doing many things.
Well, you were
But
removed.
what-
I'm sorry, I did not mean to interrupt you. Please continue. You can
That I was
continue.
removed and put back on.
Nevertheless, you still were removed, correct?
I or us?
You personally, along with others, were removed, right?
Temporarily, yes.
Okay, so
They did their discovery and found no money missing.
the argument was that you screwed people out of money, right? That was kind of the gist of the complaint.
Not at all.
Wait, hold on. Was the gist of the complaint that you and your fiduciaries had cheated the estate out of money?
John Matouk has accused everybody under the sun of cheating him and other people. So, you know, I'm sure she was put up to it by him.
I'm not asking you, forget about that. The letters from is it your testimony that Joann put the attorneys up to their letters, effectively firing
It
the
might be
estate?
just what you guys are doing. John
Mr.
Matouk might have
Matouk?
paid him to do it.
Mr.
That's what's
Matouk.
happening today.
Mr. Matouk, is it your testimony that John Matouk put the lawyers up to writing those letters firing the estate as clients?
No, I think, like I told you before, when they were caught overbilling, they decided that was their exit.
I see. So you were completely innocent and the lawyers were completely at fault here, right?
Correct.
They made it all up, right?
Correct.
3 attorneys with a collective 94 years of experience lied in the letters that they sent to the estate, right?
I didn't steal any money.
They lied when they wrote those letters, right? It's all a lie. According to you, right?
Could have been. Maybe you can call George and find out.
Was it a lie or it wasn't a lie?
What?
The allegations that were made by the lawyers
You're getting
in
into
those letters,
You're getting into my financials again, and you know what? I'm not
the
answering.
financials of the estate are directly relevant to this case. You can't even come close
they're
to
not at all.
arguing that.
They're not at all. It was resolved 20-something years ago, and everybody left on good terms. So,
Is that your testimony, that everybody, that your sister was on good terms with you and your sister?
absolutely. Like I told you, I went to Florida with her and went to her birthday parties.
Go ahead, finish your question.
So
I'll place my
what kind of
objection.
terms are we on? You traveling down to Florida with me?
Joanne, is it your testimony that Joanne and you were on good terms once the estate issue was resolved?
Well, let me place an objection, Chris. I'm going to object, asked and answered maybe 3 or 4 times already. We've been down this road a bunch of times.
Okay.
They're out of
Please,
questions.
please.
We did this last time in August. It's the same question over and over, and they'll go back and get the same questions from Joann Matouk and answer them again. It's the same scam.
This is a big conspiracy, according to you, Mr. Matuk, huh?
Conspiracy.
I just want to place an irony on the record
I do
here.
too.
Come on.
Well, isn't that your testimony, Mr. Matuk, that all of this entire lawsuit, everything that's happening here is nothing but an orchestration of Joann Matouk and Michelle Romain?
Absolutely, is exactly what it is. It's a money grab.
It's a money grab, But it wasn't a money grab when you
I didn't take any.
Wait, let me
take
finish.
anything
Let
from
me finish
anybody.
asking my question.
Got to get the question.
But it wasn't a money grab when you were accused of breach of fiduciary duty, and actually the court found that you had breached your fiduciary duty. That had
No, they
nothing to
did
do with
not.
money.
That's incorrect.
Really?
So you got your information wrong.
So what did the court find when it removed you as a fiduciary of the estate?
Objection,
Nothing.
asked
We
and
settled and
answered.
now we were
No.
put right back on.
You were taken off as a fiduciary of the estate. What did the court find that you did
Nothing.
to cause that to happen? So the
Nothing.
court took you off
Right.
as a fiduciary.
Investigated
Wait,
it, and
Mr.
everything went
Matuk?
right back where it was.
Mr. Matuk, are you telling me that the court removed you as a fiduciary with absolutely no reason whatsoever?
Other than an accusation?
That's my question.
Okay,
Are you saying
fair
the
enough.
court removed you as a fiduciary with absolutely
Yes.
no justification?
Yes. Did their investigation and came right back, settled with Joann, and we moved on. And they found no funds missing. Of course, I wasn't writing any checks anyhow, so I guess it didn't matter. My sister handled all of it.
Now, is your testimony that Stephen was put up to his accusations by John?
Absolutely.
And what's your basis for saying that?
I don't know. I just all of a sudden he went in another direction. He was always a good guy. I always liked him, and all of a sudden he's hanging around these crazy psychopaths, and they're out to try to ruin everybody's life. All we do is get up, go to work, pay our bills, take care of our families the best we can, and all they are is out to harm other people for no reason. And people who did not, what they're trying to do is to people who've done nothing to them.
And it's your testimony you operate your liquor store completely within the bounds of the law and the
Not
regulations,
answering
right?
any questions pertaining to my, how many times are we going to do this? Ask me anything about my business, you're going to get the same answer. Okay? They're not taking my business down. We're growing every year.
You'd agree that if that's through illegal sales of spirits, then your growth
Well-
is founded upon illegal activity,
Well,
right?
when you're the liquor control, you can shut me down.
So-
Keep moving on for 1 second.
Absolutely.
Time is 9:11, we're now off the record.
What time do you have to leave today?